I froze,
Yep. Then you died.
and then I died.
All right. Anyways,
What about now?
no, you're good now.
Okay. We're not moving
Right.
the stream output, but that's fine.
Yeah, the stream output's always laggy and choppy, but
Yeah.
you're fine.
Okay.
All right. So Horizon Zero Dawn, woman. That's what.
Yeah. Female lead character, open world, not fighting zombies, but fighting other stuff.
Yeah.
So she's
I like
been,
I like how you specified not fighting zombies because that takes Last of Us out.
yeah, and I think I had mentioned Last of Us to her, and she's like, "Do they fucking fight zombies though?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess they do." Um, so there's also Woot had the other day Far Cry Primal,
Yeah.
which not a female lead, but seems to match a lot of the other stuff that she talked about.
Yep.
So I ordered that too for $7. I figured that was worth it. But yeah, I wanted to find a game that's optimized for her, and most of that stuff is on systems. She's not going to sit and play it on a computer. She plays The
Right.
Sims on her laptop while she watches everything on TV. But I'm not the hardcore gamer. I am finding that I've been relaxing playing games though. The Zelda game might be a bit too much for me, the new Switch one, but I play the classic one from the Super NES, A Link to the Past.
Mhm.
Like I play that and I just kind of relax and I zone out in the way that I zone out on City of Heroes, although I curse a lot more.
You so you're playing Breath of the Wild? Is that what you said?
I played Breath of the Wild until 5 o'clock in the morning, Saturday before last,
Okay.
and so I haven't gotten back to it. Not because I'm not enjoying it, but it's a weird
And that's what I've heard.
changeover type of game.
I have I haven't gotten it because
You have to obsess over it.
well, and that's the thing. I was like, I don't know. Like, I really like the old ones. Like I like Link's Awakening and stuff, but I don't know if I'd like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and they have a Link's Awakening for the Switch,
Yep.
which
Yeah,
I'm
that's
interested
the
in.
shit out of that one.
Yeah, and my mom got me the Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, like the whole saga so far
Mhm.
for the PS4, because same kind of gameplay is what I was used to from Zelda, but with Disney characters. I'm like, how the fuck can you go wrong with that? Um, so I haven't opened it up, but I had played the first two briefly on my PlayStation 2 when I had it, and like I said, I really liked it. But I am finding, because the way that the living room set up maybe, or I don't know why, but I'm playing games more, and it's a more relaxing thing than it was at the old house,
Yeah.
where I guess we were set further back from the TV. Like I remember coming home one day and Aaron moved one of the chairs up towards the TV, like 4 feet from it, to sit and play in front of it. It's not like it's a small TV. We could see it from across the room. Well, she
Yeah,
can.
but it's so much better when you're just right next to it.
When you're right into it. That's I think that's another key about PC gaming, and I think that's one thing that the Switch got right, is that you can take it off the TV and play it like a handheld. And there's definitely something in the handheld experience of just having it right there as your whole focus and not having all the extraneous things around it, which is both good and dangerous. Like I don't need to be up until 5 o'clock in the morning playing games anymore. I got other shit I need to do, like trying to write for a whole Friday and not doing a goddamn lick of it, but still had a good time.
You don't need to, but you want to.
There are times that I want to, and so having these two new systems gives me the opportunity when I'm in that mood.
Right. I guess the biggest thing is being able to stop and just to stop before
Yeah,
5 a.m. Um,
and part of that is not playing online games so much anymore. Like City of Heroes is one thing, but I always kind of solo in that, and I haven't played it in a couple months now. Um, but that idea of this is your social life and the game, that kind of makes it tougher. When I used to play City of Heroes with friends and we would plan around playing together, like I'd get home and, oh yeah, I got to jump on because Chris and Scott and Luna are going to be on there,
yeah.
which again, fun because they were also people that I was friends with in real life, but it is like another obligation of do this thing, and it wipes out the chance of doing much else. But I was younger then and didn't sleep at all. Now I like to sleep more. I'm old. I'm fragile.
I
I got
mean,
a cold right at Christmas Day and had it through most of my time off. So
way to go. I mean, I think I was sick on most of my time off too, but such
yeah.
is life.
I'd rather be sick and be able to be home.
Right. That's a good point. Um, the you made a point. Now I forgot.
The
Oh,
kind of gaming.
um, so when you're talking about like when people are playing and you go on, like I find that if I start playing with people, I play longer and neglect everything else.
Right.
So a lot of times, if I have shit to do or things that I want to accomplish that day, I will just not say anything to people.
Yeah, like you and Jack and a couple others were playing games together and stuff. I was
Yeah.
totally interested in being a part of that because you're all people that I love to hang out with.
Oh, it's way different than podcasting with Jack.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
Way too fucking serious. I'm so bad at it that a lot of times I would just leave.
That's probably the other part too. Is I am very bad at
Yeah.
games. That's like when we've got friends who are heavily into Overwatch, and I don't mean heavily like they're obsessive gamers, but obviously two of our friends have done the longest lasting Overwatch podcast, and I admire that, and I'm interested in the game, but I don't want to play an online game like that because I will fuck it up for everybody.
Well, they're making Overwatch 2, and I don't know how.
What do you do with it?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I never paid enough attention to know what the story is. But yeah, how do you make a second one?
And I would prefer that to be a story. It's a bunch of like superhero type characters,
Yeah.
and that world looks like it should be a Pixar movie, and I'm totally into that. But it's an online like arena style game, and that's exactly the kind of shit I don't excel at. I need to be left the fuck alone. I need to be left alone, and I need to be kind of handheld through a game. That's another problem with the Zelda games. Is the new one especially is just like, oh, go do whatever. Like, fuck whatever, man. I need instructions, and I will ignore instructions happily, but I still need the possibility that if I just go, well, shit, slot A doesn't fit into tab X or whatever. I know that now, but you got to be able to tell me. Like even on the fucking Zelda game that I beat a bunch of times, A Link to the Past, I got to the dark world and I'm a rabbit. And I'm like, why the fuck am I a rabbit? Something's got to happen because I got to go to this temple and I keep going to the temple and the door doesn't open. Nothing is making sense. But it's like, go to the fucking temple, dude. Go to. How did I miss this? So I go on my phone. Thank God we don't need fucking guides anymore. I go on my phone and I look it up and it's like, yeah, you got to grab this pearl. Where the fuck is the pearl? Well, you know that temple you just got to get to the dark world? Yeah, you missed the pearl, ass nuts. Oh shit, I totally missed the pearl because you just let me. You didn't tell me. You got to give me some fucking sign that this is important. Like, hey, here's this box you got to get to. I fucking forgot that. I'm old. I'm not thinking a lot on this shit. This is how I mess up my brain so I can go to sleep at night. But if I'm gonna go to sleep, you can't leave me as a rabbit. I'm gonna be obsessed the whole fucking night. Like, why am I hopping around? Where's my goddamn master sword that I fought so hard to get? Get me the fuck out of this. And now it's like, oh, I got the pearl. Oh, and there's a giant monkey who wants me to give him rupees so I can get in the temple. Great, that's fine. That's all I need. Just walk me through a little bit.
So I'm in the process of playing Fallen Order at this present time. Like that's what I was playing when you text me, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta get to a point where I can stop.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm not gonna be fucking happy. And like that game holds your hand a little bit if you're trying to do a puzzle and you're not moving, you're not progressing. It'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
But when you look at the map, like if you can go a direction at this point in time, it will be yellow. If you can't yet, it'll be red. And then if you can, like once you can, it turns green.
That makes total sense.
It's kind of hand holding, but like there's no fast travel. So when you get to the end of the map and your ship is on the other end of the map, you have to fucking walk all the way back through.
Right.
Kind of frustrating, but it's been a very enjoyable game.
Yeah, I remember Warcraft when they introduced mounts and stuff, and it was you had to be a certain level. Like how big of a difference that made. Because I one time I briefly played Warcraft because someone bought it for me, and they're like, "Oh, play this," and I'm like, "I'll play it," but I'm kind of a City of Heroes guy. But I wound up getting on some underground rail car system that went through. It was beautiful. It was animated so nice because you're like on this thing and you're looking out the windows and you're seeing the water go by and all these sea creatures and stuff that you'd never see otherwise. It was amazing. But then all of a sudden I'm in this whole other part of the world. I'm like, how the fuck do I get home? Yeah.
That's part of the reason I stopped playing World of Warcraft because I'm like, I don't know, like all of a sudden I'd get somewhere. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I am.
Yeah, I don't want my fucking wall to have to look like a murder chart and I'm some obsessed cop who got taken off the force because he can't let the case go. I need my wall to look like a wall that I can like look up sometimes and go, "Oh yeah, I'm actually in reality. I'm not Link. I can go to bed now or I can eat a meal. That's not pizza rolls." But fuck yeah, pizza rolls. And just like just did I bring something up with the pizza rolls?
I haven't had pizza rolls in a long time.
Shit, we had them yesterday. So that's another thing too. Pizza rolls, Totino's. Yeah, gotta go Totino's. Don't go off brand. Fuck that. Um, so I made the batch of pizza rolls, and then we finished them. And Aaron's like, "Are there any more?" I'm like, "There's a whole other fucking half bag that I can go make again."
Yeah.
And that in itself is a problem with how Totino's pitches things. Is like the first thing it says about the cooking instructions is if you cook 20, it takes 10 to 12 minutes. Who the fuck is going to stop at the 20? Like, eat 20 dicks in 10 to 12 minutes. Don't fucking tell me, like, we're not going to go for the full 40 or a half bag. I'm buying a 90 pizza roll bag. I'm not making 20 pizza rolls. I'm not a child.
Jesus. Yeah. Wow, you really went there.
I really went there.
Really made me want a calzone, which pizza rolls are just tiny calzones.
Tiny calzones. You
Two
stuff
bread
anything.
options.
You stuff fucking pasta. You make egg rolls. You do mozzarella sticks, especially if they're beer battered. I think we talked about this before. Like, just put shit in other shit, and it makes me so happy. My dream is for Alton Brown to do a turducken episode, and I know he never will because he thinks stuffing is evil. And I don't really want a turducken, but I want to watch him make it.
I fucking totally want a turducken. You can order them online. I thought about it.
We had gone to this like little grocery store that closed up pretty soon after. It was failing. Became a Walmart grocery, which is strange. But we went there and they had I think a vegan turducken one year, and we took a picture of it. We're just like, what part of this makes any sense? Like, we made fake meat to taste like 3 different kinds of birds, 3 different kinds, and then stuffed them into each other.
Found a picture of it. It is gross.
Green box, right?
Well, it's just a picture of the turducken cut open.
Oh, okay. But is it the vegan one?
Yeah. Apparently, there's a YouTube Granny Potty Mouth. Oh, that makes more sense. Granny Potty Mouth makes a fucking vegan turducken. Yeah, because I had a buddy of mine used to be vegetarian, and he would always eat tofurkey, and and it's like, fuck, it's like, it doesn't even look like a turkey. It's just like a loaf.
Yep.
And it's just the fucking most disgusting texture ever.
In a lot of ways, that sounds like it's perfect for me because I don't like food that looks like an animal. I don't want it to be something I recognize. Debone the chicken. I can't eat chicken on a bone. That fucks me up with all the sinew and shit in there. Yeah. I like my stuff very, very processed. So I don't have to think about it. I'm a typical American. That's why I like the McDonald's. That's why I like the Taco Bell and shit, is because it unrecognizable from real food and mostly doesn't contain any real food.
I heard Taco Bell.
You did hear Taco Bell. I'm sorry.
New items on the menu.
Oh shit!
The Nacho Crunch double stack taco. The Chipotle cheddar double stack taco. The Reaper Ranch double stack taco.
What is a Reaper Ranch?
They use the Reaper Carolina Reaper hot sauce in the ranch.
Okay, it just sounded like that should be a straight up Texas Chainsaw for today.
It'll Texas Chainsaw your butthole.
I think they actually did that in Texas Chainsaw, or at least part 2.
Totally hit someone in the asshole. This is my new favorite thing that the Taco Bell website has: sodium warnings. The deluxe box is the first item with a sodium warning. It looks like it's got a chalupa, a Dorito taco, and some sort of bean burrito. And then this item, which I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I clicked on it. The Nacho Party Pack. It's just a big fucking box full of nachos. Sodium warning.
What does the sodium warning look like? Do they have like a giant bucket of water and it shows the levels of like how much you're going to retain?
It's a yield sign with a salt shaker. It just says sodium warning. It doesn't tell you how much sodium. Oh, wait, we can totally look. How much sodium is too much sodium?
Calorie and sodium warnings on fast food menus are like speed limits at night. They're suggestions at best. No one's looking at that. No one looks at a stop sign at 2:30 in the morning.
Man, this is fucking. There's 3,640 milligrams of sodium.
That sounds like a lot, but then I don't know. I used to salt my fries like they were the Sahara Beach.
Yeah, see, I like salt.
The joke there is Sahara doesn't have a beach, kids.
Heyo. Let's see. Oh, you can't. can't see how much sodium's in the deluxe box because you can edit it.
You can edit the deluxe box, so it can't tell you. It's
Yeah.
like at your own risk.
Yeah. And in case you're thirsty, there's the electric blue raspberry freeze. And then just a blue raspberry freeze. Huh, interesting.
What's the difference between the blue raspberry and electric raspberry? It just puts like some sort of shock collar on your nads.
There's a green slime in it.
Is that because you ate the nacho box?
Yeah. Classic like blue raspberry freeze. We had no choice but to turn all the flavor all the way up.
Turn all the flavor all the way up.
It doesn't say what they did to turn up the flavor. There's just like, oh, paired with a sour swirl.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So the Chihuahua jizz is just sour swirl.
What flavor? Like, I love the obliqueness of what it is they're trying to say. Turn all the flavor up. What flavor is it? Mostly chode.
Yeah.
Mostly just the underside of your nads.
I saw someone had a meme, your favorite. It said like X number of people die a year from tainted beef, and it says what I want to know is who's putting their taint on the beef.
Yeah, tainted beef, my favorite '80s song.
That's one I want to listen to. Tainted beef.
Done in conjunction with Wendy's.
Yeah. What else is new? How's Christmas?
Christmas was good. We went over to my parents, so it was just quiet. It was us and them for dinner. My sister stopped by briefly with a very damaged, had to be put down chicken. That was unfortunate. And she raises chickens that got attacked. It was sad. We got out of there before the shotgun went off. But overall, it was a nice, like, we haven't spent holidays with my family because we were in California for so long. So this was a different thing to do. Mom sent me home with a lot of ham.
Ooh.
Yeah, she did a ham. Now Aaron is trying vegetarianism. There's a word for when you also eat fish and occasionally chicken with it. Like those are allowed. Huh?
Is it pescatarian?
Yeah, that's prospertarian. Really? I think you're close.
Presbyterian.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So a pescatarian is a person who does not eat meat but does eat fish.
Yeah. And then there's one for chicken but not fish, and then there's one with chicken and fish but no beef. I had Google start talking to me as John Legend, and I was asking it on the drive home, like what are the different versions, and John's just always a pleasure to talk to.
We watched Rhythm and Flow on Netflix, which is a rap competition, and John Legend showed up.
Oh.
Yes. Eats no meat, fish, or poultry. So a pollo vegetarian is one that only eats chicken. A pescatarian is one that only eats fish, but I cannot find which one eats chicken and fish.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask John right now because I think he got to spend time with his family. He's got a couple young kids. Very nice wife. But there is a word for it. I don't remember what it was because I was driving and spending too much time talking to Google. Yeah, my dad's also trying to go vegetarian/vegan. Like, I think he thinks he's going vegan, but he's not quite. But he is eliminating meat and stuff, and that's for his health. And the rest of the family is confused because the Meixner men are big eaters and big farters, and that is what they're known for. And feats strength, but I'm sure it comes from all the food and farting. So it's weird because we go out to dinner on Wednesdays and he hasn't been eating what he would normally get. He's mostly eating the salad bar and getting a side of potatoes lathered with more onions that fit on a plate and whatever else he wants to go with it. But so I got him a bunch of this is going to sound terrible, flavored nuts for Christmas, like nut variety packs. But then I got him some spicy chocolate peanuts and stuff too. And it's just he really seemed to appreciate it, not so much for what the gift was, but for what it meant, which is that I was trying to think as a vegan. My mom went a safer route and got him a bunch of booze.
Hey man, liquor is visions.
Yes. And he kept trying to get Erin to drink some of the booze with him, but Erin's trying to not drink so much because of her fibro. And so like it's a lot of stuff that is getting changed up. But it's been nice. Like I'm not giving up meat, but she's been making a lot of fish and shrimp dishes, making a lot of stuff with shrimp. And it's good stuff. It's just okay. I would eat like this all the time if I wasn't poor. But the fact that she is, yeah, it is. It is not a cheap way to go. But if you do that instead of going out, it's a lot better.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you really think about it, it's still cheaper than actually going out. But
Right.
Yeah, I think I went to the grocery store, spent $100, and I got dishwasher tabs and meat. It's not really it. I also got Funyuns because I'm not a fucking animal.
I'm just crying because the dishwasher tabs.
They're fucking expensive.
Well, no, I'm crying because I don't have a dishwasher still, and it's like that's where my heart is. Yeah.
Tell her I said that. I hope she doesn't listen to this. I'm sorry.
She's trying to recommend guests, friends of hers in the horror and art community and stuff to be guests on the show.
Oh, I thought you were like telling them to listen. I'm like, nah, I gotta like act like an adult. But yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. But hey, we watched a movie.
We did.
Now I went out on a limb last week and I said this is a fucking masterpiece. This is an American classic. And I believed that going in. Now I hadn't seen it in a long time, but I stand by it.
This is the first time I've seen it, and I did not hate it. It was exactly what I expected in a 1986 horror movie about aliens and leeches.
Yep. So we're talking about Night of the Creeps.
Yep.
Which is
we can just talk about it in very vague terms.
In very vague terms. There's a lot of stuff around that time that probably fit that description. In some ways, it kind of reminded me of Critters because the alien stuff and everything.
Yeah, but this, like, with the exception of the beginning, in the end, you really don't see any aliens.
Well, and that's the thing too is that we both watched the director's cut. Now that is not this version that I'd ever seen before. That has an alternate ending. The theatrical ending. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say a stupid fucking ending where there's just a spaceship flying over a cemetery.
Right. Yeah, I didn't love that ending. The original ending was after the house blows up and everything, and they're all standing outside watching the fire. The girl leans down. Yeah, that would be great. With all the boyfriends who showed up. The girl leans down to see the dog, and the dog like looks at her and shoots one of the creeps out of its mouth at her, and she gasps, and so you assume that it got into her face. So it does leave an open-ended thing to the story, but not quite as open-ended as Tom Atkins' character walking as a burnt corpse to the local cemetery and dumping all the creeps there, and then the aliens flying back overhead. So it was always kind of ambiguous as to what the aliens were. So we're going to go back to the beginning on this. But this is part of why I think this movie is a masterpiece. And there will be several points that I'll try to make along the way on this. But it opens up with aliens that look like those. You remember those little wrestling dolls that used to get out of I used to call them chode toys. The 25-cent things that you twist and you come out with a little bubble, and the bubble will have a toy in it.
Yeah. Yep.
And weren't there little like wrestling guys, like little peach-colored wrestling dudes or something of all different stripes? Maybe it wasn't wrestlers. Maybe it was little monsters or something. But I definitely remember like little flesh tone creatures that would be toys that kids would play with. Probably outside of where I had aged out of them by the time that, and you might have been too young. But man, it seems like in the 80s there was a big thing about that, and that's what these reminded me of. Kind of a mix between that and the troll dolls, except no hair. And so it opens on a spaceship, and the quarters are running down in the spaceship. One alien is running away, and he's got this big tube with him, and these other two aliens are chasing after him. They're all naked as shit, and they're firing guns at this dude, and he's trying to get this pipe into a thing to shoot it out into space. So Aaron and I were discussing this as we're watching it. Now, Aaron and I have seen this movie a lot. We're big fans. And we're talking about the aliens, and other than the fact that they're naked babies, I was like, so what do you think is the motivation going on here? Like, why is the guy trying to shoot these things out into space? Is it A, he is, trying to infect other places and protect this species from being destroyed, and the other guys are trying to kill him and kill them or whatever? Or is it B, the other dudes are like Paul Reiser in Aliens, and they want to protect the species so they can make money off of it, and this guy's trying to get rid of it so it doesn't affect their home planet. Like he's the Ripley, and they're the fuckalls. Um, so we didn't really come up with a determination one way or the other until I read IMDb, and IMDb calls that first alien baby infected alien or something like that. So he has already been possessed by one of the creeps. It's already gotten its way into him, and so they're using him to get themselves an escape route. So that's explained. All it took was somebody on IMDb saying, "Oh yeah, this alien is played by this dude, and this is what that alien's called." And then the pursuing aliens are these other two dudes,
Huh.
all little people. But that's good because 30 fucking years or so that I've watched this movie, had no idea what the motivations were of the spaceship. Although the spaceship is the part that I always remember the least, because it is very quick at the beginning, 5 minutes in, and it's done. And like I said, if you haven't seen the director's cut, you never get anything else of it again.
Right.
It is what it is. It's an explanation of why they're on the planet, but it almost has nothing to do with the rest of the story, which is fine. But I think that's brilliant because it does just enough. So the first part of this is huge sci-fi spaceship. Like someone put all this stuff together to do this scene, and then it's done and it's out. And I don't know if they got like used stuff from another set or something, but cool. Like I'm already on board. Like you convinced me that it's one kind of movie, and then it's not, because then it goes to the 50s.
Right.
And what did you think at this point? Like, what did you think you were getting into?
Well, so I turned it on, and Alyssa was like, "Oh, you said old movie. I expected black and white." So it starts in color or whatever, and then it goes to black and white. I'm like, "Hey, remember when I said it wasn't in black and white? It wasn't in black and white before." And I'm
Did you
like,
feel betrayed?
"No," and because although the credits and everything were still in color, and I remember reading the description, and it says something about 50s, and then it goes to the 80s.
Yeah.
So I knew it was happening. I was just trying to be an ass, and she didn't. She was not enjoying it. But I like, I guess like if they just would have explained something about the aliens or how the creeps got to Earth in that first 2 minutes or whatever, that would make a lot more sense. With the whole fucking movie would make just a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Or take the first 2 minutes out and
Take it out.
start it in the 50s.
No explanation. Well, I mean, we do get into this like cryogenics thing too, eventually.
Right, but even that doesn't need. You don't need the spaceship part for it.
Right. No, well, that's what I'm saying is that the cryogenics thing means that there's this science lab that's local to the college or in the college, which is way more advanced than what the fucking college should have. Like, I know we pay universities pretty well for a lot of bullshit that they don't have to have. Mostly that's sports, but it's like shit. Like, if you got a cryogenics lab that nobody there seemed to know about, or the two younger guys at least don't know about, but they were sent to that building to get a dead body, which I thought was kind of funny. Then the fuck, you could have alien creep things that you've made. That it's just it gives an explanation for a zombie outbreak that usually isn't really given. Most zombie outbreak movies are some sort of like governmental experiment gas, but they never really tell you. Like Return of the Living Dead doesn't tell you, but you see that the gas canisters open up and start infecting people.
Right.
This
Have you ever
gives you an explanation that's beyond it's just the government doing it.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the second one?
Return of the Living Dead?
No, I'm sorry, Night of the Creeps 2.
Oh, I didn't know there was a Night of the Creeps 2.
I could have swore that there was one, and it came out in like 2007.
Oh shit! I'm all about that if that's the case.
Let's see. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I could have swore I saw it though.
Because most of these, Aaron and I were talking about this. She looked it up. She's like, most of these people didn't do anything after this. I'm like, well, they did stuff for a while.
So there was supposed to be a second one. It was canceled in October of this year.
And Tom Atkins has said that he would love to go back. This is his favorite movie that he's ever done, and he would love to go back and work with Decker again
I mean,
on doing more stuff.
fun movie.
Yeah, it's definitely, and like not that many people from this went on to having high profile careers. Like the Brad was the grandson on Mama's Family,
Yeah.
the Bradster.
All
The
I remember is giving beer to what's his face. I know his real name. I can't think of what his name was in the movie, which is really bad.
I don't know. But David Paymer, I think, is probably the most popular actor from this, and he plays the guy who's working in the lab that's trying to get his digital code to get in the room.
Yeah,
That guy's been in a ton of stuff. He was in Payback with. Well, I guess it makes sense because he was in that with the dude from Lethal Weapon. Oh shit, Mel Gibson. He was in Get Shorty. I think he's been in a lot of stuff, but he's a character actor. He's one of those guys who's never really the lead, but he's in so much stuff. But this might have been like one of his first roles because he looked really young there.
I'm looking.
But most of these guys, like Jason Lively, who played Chris, was Rusty Griswold in the second Vacation movie. He was Oink Oink, My Good Man.
Yes.
He asked and what's that?
He asked me for drugs.
He did?
Yes.
You met him?
Yes.
I'm so impressed with that.
And then asked for drugs.
Jill Wetlow, who is Cynthia, the only thing I'd ever seen her in besides this was she was the perfume girl in Weird Science. Like, not big names from this. Tom Atkins I see in a lot of stuff, but Aaron always looks at Dennis Farina, who was doing Comcast commercials and things, and she'd point at him and she'd go, "Thrill Me," and I'm like, that's not the Thrill Me guy. Doesn't matter. They're interchangeable. They've got mustaches and gray hair.
Tom Atkins is in The Collected.
Yes.
I didn't know if I'd have to explain that one to you or not.
No, he's in a lot of stuff, but again, not the most well-known actor, but
I didn't realize I made an Equalizer TV show.
Oh yeah, that's where that started. It was a TV show, then became the
80s. Holy shit. Okay, never mind. Yeah. He was in Lethal Weapon.
Yes. So that's another thing too. So Lethal Weapon was written by Shane Black. Shane Black worked on the script with Thomas Dekker. Black and Dekker used to work together quite a bit. I guess they were roommates for a while before they both got discovered. So a year after this came out, Lethal Weapon came out, and Atkins was the dad of the girl who was kidnapped or who was killed in that. But I believe Dekker also worked on The Predator with Shane Black that came out last year.
I think so.
Yeah, because it was Christmas themed Predator. So if it's Christmas, it's got to be Shane Black doing it.
Yeah.
But Dekker also the year after this did Monster Squad.
Huh. Did not know that.
I got on like a Dekker kick because Monster Squad we'd done with Erica on the show already, but there were other movies that I was like, oh, I didn't know he did that. Oh, I didn't know that. So I've downloaded If Looks Could Kill, the Richard Grieco movie, and there was another one that he did that I can't recall. But like, I'm gonna fucking watch a bunch of Frank Dekker shit. Anyway, so we've gone to black and white.
Yes.
And we find out that this girl who's in this sorority is dating this new dude. She has an ex-boyfriend who became a cop, and I guess it's not cool in the 50s. You can't have a boyfriend who's a cop when you're in college. I don't quite understand that. He's got a career path ahead of him, but yeah. So like her roommate's giving us all the lowdown on this, and it scans over to her, and then they're up at Lookout Point. Now I've seen it too many goddamn times to not think it, but I looked at Aaron and I said immediately, like them sitting in the front of the car, just kind of like almost arm's length away from each other, and just looking up the sky. I went to the scene in Animal House where the girl is got the rubber gloves on and is just jerking off her douchebag boyfriend in the front seat. Like that's exactly. I couldn't help but do that.
Yeah.
And it's such an iconic movie that in '86, I assume that must have been their whole viewpoint of like doing the scene. I know every show and movie that takes place in the '50s has a lookout point. Happy Days, I'm sure, had one. But shit, man, like they're just sitting there in the car, not making out. There's a hand job happening, right?
Well, he probably was like, "Come on, just touch it, it'll be cool." Like, "Oh, I touch it around there." He's like, "You just come on, just touch it a little bit."
Well, she also makes the offer to the axe murderer later on. Not to him, but she's trying to call her boyfriend back as he's going out in the woods, leaving her on the side of the road. Like, if you come back, I'll let you feel me up. Essentially,
Well, and that you know what? Sometimes you got to know what you're good at.
yeah.
Sometimes you're good at is being a whore.
If I got to give it away to get back home, then I'll give it away.
Yeah.
But so then this goes through the whole like very classic idea of the axe murderer. The kids hear it on the radio, sitting in their car, and they're supposed to go home, and they ignore it, and then the axe murderer shows up and kills them. That is fireside story at camp. Like everybody has fucking heard that story a billion times, and it's so perfect. So again, second scene in the first 10 minutes of the film, we've switched genres. We not so much, but we kind of gone from sci-fi to classic 50s horror axe murderer thing, all this stuff, and like totally different from where it starts. And it takes you down this whole path of the axe murderer showing up and killing them and all that. But it continues the aliens part because the boyfriend goes into the woods to find the meteorite that lands. It looked way too huge in the sky for being what that small pipe was full of those creatures. And he only absorbs one. So where do the other ones go? Or is there only one in that pipe that shoots up in his mouth? Like, is it the everlasting gobstopper of space aliens? Because it's like one is enough for anybody.
Well, it never really says anything about the fact that if like you need one or you need more. But it sounded later when they talked about how the leech goes in through your mouth and then you walk around,
Incubates.
incubates, so it probably hatches more. So it
Right.
takes one for you to get fucked, and then you can shoot out multiple.
But I'm still kind of like, but if you're gonna shoot your shot and you're only shooting one out to this planet and hoping that that's it, like it's kind of like the Kal-El
Yeah.
of alien brain eaters. Is like, we're gonna send you to Earth, you're gonna have magic powers and fuck things up for everybody. I guess if you're like more recent versions of Superman. But so yeah, so he gets this thing, and the axe murderer kills the girlfriend, and then it blanks out again, and suddenly we're in modern day for the '80s, college, at the same college. But now here's our third kind of scene of like a whole different place and time, and it changes the feel again. And I'm super impressed by this. Like there's two kind of not false starts because they're important to what comes, but they are like, we're setting you up with this one kind of movie, and now we're backing away and we're setting you up with this other kind of movie, and we back away and then we give you this third movie. And it's like, I told you that story so I could tell you this one.
Yeah.
Really fucking cool. Like, again, I have to ask you though, for the first time seeing it, how did you feel about that? Because you had an idea going in. You read the description.
There was nothing that happened in this movie that blatantly upset me. I guess we could put it that way. But like, there were totally things that made it feel very 80s.
Oh, it is very
I don't
80s.
look super 80s, but like, towards the end, the shower scene.
Oh yeah,
This didn't need to be here, but it's the 80s, so we got to show some tits.
totally. And Jill Whittaker's character, when she's changing after coming home from the party that first night, like no reason for that shot. There's not even any sexiness to it. It's just like, oh, I saw a little boob there, and that's it.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we got to have some tits somewhere.
So very 80s, and like she's such the girl next door character. It's a little bit Phoebe Cates doing Fast Times. I mean, she wasn't so much girl next door in that, but people were so used to Phoebe Cates being the girl next door that scene like changed a lot of boys' lives in the 80s. But it was this like, there's no reason for this character to be exposed in that way. But it was 1986.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there was no need to explain back then.
Yeah.
Not saying that there is now, but It's very apparent they just like, well, we can put some tits in here, so put some
That's
tits.
the expectation. It's a rated R horror movie, so we have to put that in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not speaking with regret towards it. It's just it's weird because it is a different time.
It's just yeah, it's odd. Like you don't know. There was a period in the '90s where or maybe it was more early thousands, but everyone was smoking weed.
Hmm.
So like, so Freddy versus Jason was kind of the first one. I'm like, oh, fucking stupid.
Well, they put in a guy who was supposed to be like Jason Mewes, essentially,
And has always got to smoke a joint. I think.
and Jason X had that guy too. A different guy, but it was the same sort of deal. Like the guy who was totally the stoner and
Yes.
playing VR games.
Yep. So it is what it is. And like I said, it was just in the '80s. It was tits. In the early thousands, probably was.
70s probably was too.
Yeah, I just don't watch a lot of '70s movies.
It wasn't until Scream, I think, that it was the you felt like you saw nudity in Scream because they really emphasized Rose McGowan's bralessness, which was
Mhm.
very much like Rachel on Friends. Like, you always felt like you were seeing boobs, but there wasn't actually boobs up on the screen. I mean, they were there. They were nestled in something.
Maybe
Um,
give me some tasteful side boob.
Taste of Side Boob's great, man. Star Trek Next Generation did some underboob once. Man, that was brilliant. That was good TV. Um, I really don't know if that's true. But it yeah, it was blatant 80s boobage. But we had watched that Slimeball Bolorama thing recently, which was way more blatant. Like just like a 20-minute scene of them just showering off whipped cream for no reason.
But I think that was
That was more B movie.
yeah, and I think it was intended to be as on the nose as possible.
Right. This was at that cusp of like, well, it doesn't have to be quite that, but they still included it. And so I think that's where it's more. I'm not going to say offensive because there's nothing wrong with nudity in general, but it just feels unnecessary because it accomplished nothing other than. But in a college kind of fraternity based film, you know, it's trying to hit the marks of Animal House, it's trying to hit the marks of Revenge of the Nerds.
Mhm.
Uh, both of those movies feature that stuff a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, and like I thought it was funny. Like I
Yeah,
laughed at it, but I'm sure at the time,
right. Because it seems quaint, right?
yeah.
This is at a point in time where this might be the only boobs you get to see that week. Is when your parents are gone and you're watching this on Cinemax late at night and you're like, oh, this is the best. Because there wasn't the abundance of free available porn everywhere.
I love pornography.
It seems to be doing okay for itself.
Porn will never go away.
No, it shouldn't.
No, it really shouldn't. You don't
It
hear
shouldn't be ostracized in the way that it is. I've got a lot of hangups.
you got to have some and I realize that this may take you into a tangent, but you kind of have to respect an industry that has been the deciding factor for video technology moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. I also like the fact that with the internet, especially, is that it's become something that is more controlled by the people who make it,
Hmm.
that a star in it, that as opposed to people who take advantage of stars, and that there is the opportunity for women to be in more control of what it is they're doing and who they're doing it with and doing it for, and their connections with the audience directly, as opposed to having somebody who kind of oversees and gets them hooked on drugs and does this other shit. Like
Right.
I don't have a lot of the excuse me ins and outs of porn, but it seems to me like there is an opportunity there that is starting to be met. Um, but then we're also in the same era that was doing a lot of that stuff with Craigslist and then fucked it up for Craigslist and fucked it up for sex workers that used Craigslist. It's too bad.
With anything good, there's like a seedy underbelly.
Yes.
So
By the way, CD Underbelly, my favorite Pornhub category.
seedy underbelly compilation
That is,
best.
I thought it was way off. Like, there's no way that it's actually a category. Now you hear it out loud, and I think, oh shit, that might actually be a category.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a full category, as it might just be like a search criteria. There's a real quick way to figure this one out.
No, please don't.
Okay, all right. I need to
We'll,
stop.
we'll wait. We'll wait until we've got like a little more time before you do the full category read again.
Oh no,
That was a beautiful moment.
I was just gonna search Pornhub real quick, see where we can get. No big deal. I don't know.
Maybe we should start tagging these with the Pornhub stuff because we need the SEO.
You know, Pornhub may
Sponsor the show.
just saying.
That would be lovely. I think I have too many. You would probably have to eliminate me as a host. I have too many hangups for them to like be. Well, Matt's on it. Matt gets us. Corey's he's a straight. He's a fucking narc in hiding.
No, but you did bring up seated underbelly.
Right. That's true.
They may be like, holy shit, that's genius.
Well, I am also the one who came up with mixing Uber Eats and the morning after of like having your date go off but bring her a sandwich too.
Uber after.
Yeah, Uber after.
Uber after.
Happily Uber after.
Happily Uber after. Man, speaking of breakfast, I last weekend ate at a place. I can't believe I didn't mention this last week when I talked to you, but the pancakes were fucking bigger than the plate and 2 inches thick.
Yeah. Across the street has pancakes like that.
Yeah, I mean, I love pancakes. I don't eat them that often, but like that's a steal right there.
You want big fluffy pancakes and you want that feeling of regret. Like you want to be 2/3 through it and going, there's not a fucking way I can eat any more of this. But then you shove in more butter and syrup and you go, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hate myself for the rest of the week.
Yep.
But wow. And that is a joy. Like I keep forgetting when I go across the street. I went across a couple weeks ago and I got the biscuits and gravy. And anytime a menu in the Midwest offers a half portion, and you think, well, why would I spend only $1 more and get the full portion? I should just get that. No, get the fucking half portion. It's not about the money. It's about how you're going to feel about yourself later.
Well, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but you could just stop.
Yeah, but I hate wasting food.
Oh, trust me, I know how it is.
And I not only hate wasting food, I hate wasting food that I'm enjoying. I want to keep eating it.
Take it home, eat that shit later. You got second breakfast.
Is there like a reheat on pancakes or biscuits? Like, is that something that's okay? Biscuits that are already submerged in gravy. I feel like you hit your wall. Like it's been dampened. That's not going to come back well.
It's not going to be as terrific as the first go around.
Now, if I go home and I make myself up some little sausage links and then I wrap that in the pancake, that's a possibility. I could do that. Because that's what I usually try to do anyways. If I'm in a place that doesn't make pigs in a blanket, I'm gonna make some goddamn pigs in a blanket. You're just gonna give me the works, and I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna make you embarrassed for yourself that you didn't do this right the first time. It's you got all the ingredients.
There's a gas station chain. I don't know. That was a hard one to think of. It's Wisconsin and Minnesota, and I think some in Iowa, called Quick Trips. KW, not to be confused with the QUICKs or QUIKs that are in the South.
Mm-hmm.
They have maple pancake wrapped sausage on a stick.
Yeah, and I want to say that like Foster's Farms or somebody makes some of those too. Like,
yeah, they're fucking amazing, and like nine days a week. I get that doesn't make sense. They're always on sale for $1. I know. I saw them this morning when I went to get groceries, and I almost fucking ate like 9 of them. Instead, I ate 0.
And do you ever use them as a sex toy?
I don't think.
Or is shoving them in your mouth as close as you get to needing them to be a sex toy?
Well, yes. Just put it in my mouth.
Just put it in my mouth hole. No, I dropped my slippers.
Oop, and then like a slap sound, and then you look down. Like, ooh, I didn't know I could still do that.
My slippers don't have backs to them, and they're not like clogs. They're just open back. And the chair is a little tall, so sometimes I like hang my foot off the end, and the slipper just falls.
No, I hear you.
I have dainty princess feet.
I have my feet over like one of the legs of my desk, and I'm basically laying down. I gotta make grilled cheese sandwiches after this.
Oh, what a hard life. What kind of cheese? What are you doing with that?
I don't know. Do you understand how much cheese I have in my fridge?
No, that's a want.
I have a cheese drawer. I have cheese curds. I have mozzarella cheese, sharp cheddar, extra sharp cheddar, double cheddar. 7-year aged cheddar. I think that's all the cheese in my fridge.
I always get the cheese curds across the street and put it onto the cheeseburger.
Oof.
Crush that shit up and make that happen. Because there was a Ike's out in California. I've said this many times. Ike's has mozzarella sticks that they'll put on some sandwiches, and there's a difference between how a cheese curd tastes versus a mozzarella stick, but it's still pretty good. You know, get that fried cheese. Don't just put. I'm never going to complain that you just put some cheese on my burger. That's what I want. I'm a human being, but if you can fry that cheese and then put it on there, so it's got a good crust. Fuck yes.
The cheese curds I have are fresh cheese curds.
Yeah, but then do you fry them?
No.
Ah,
they're not breaded.
yeah, but you can do that.
I know, but a lot of people don't understand that there's a difference.
Yes, there is.
Like when we met Erica and Dan and we gave them cheese curds, they like fucking had no idea that these things existed, and they're like, "We've only seen fried ones in a certain like a couple bars." Like, and I'm like, "This is where it's at." I will microwave a bowl of those things and then just use like pita chips or a fork, a little bit of salt, fork. Oof. Then my face feels greasy.
No, I'm similar in that my go-to snack for a long time as a kid, other than the cream cheese mixed with sugar, was taking chocolate chips and peanut butter chips and butterscotch chips and mixing them up in a bowl and then melting them a little bit and swirling that up so it was just like one big glop of chocolate heaven. And then if you have the means and you want to dip some graham crackers in that, graham crackers, that's right, I said it wrong.
You said graham crackers. I wasn't gonna let that one go. I'm glad
No.
you acknowledged. I love graham crackers now. It sounds like when you're in a diaper.
It sounds like you should make like graham cracker butts and put that melted chocolate in it and then just have it sort of drip out a hole in the back. And you have to like break off bits and scrape up that stuff before it drips all over you. Like you don't get a cup to keep it in. You got to hold a graham cracker. And it's a challenge. It's a toy. It's an adventure and a treat.
Oh, wow. This really took a turn.
Yeah. Turn to the
back. Are we
back.
done with the...
No, we've just gotten to the 80s, man.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. We should probably stay on track here because I got to make grilled cheese sandwiches after this.
All right, so in the 50s, cop catches the ex-murder killing his ex-girlfriend who broke up with him, and the new boyfriend gets a creep in his face, and he becomes a zombie later. So in the 80s, these two guys are walking around, Chris and JC. Also, all the characters have last names that are based off of horror directors like Cronenberg and shit like that. It's fun. It's a good time. It's an homage to the greats. But so Chris is aside from being a ginger, he's kind of the uptight guy who gets crushes on girls and doesn't do very well. JC, very forward thinking, has to use crutches because of a disability, and is also the funny one because you got to give him something. And really well acted. I like JC a lot. Like as far as best friends who kind of lead you around and stuff. Huh?
Different. I was JC from Backstreet Boys, or is
no, no.
I'm talking about different.
I don't have a favorite Backstreet Boy. The ones who don't sing are my favorites. But no, he's just, there's this impassioned speech he gives where he's talking to Chris back in the room later on when Chris is all pissed off about how the night went, and now he's always making jokes. And she's like, motherfucker, like I have to be up and cool and fun for you to keep you happy, and you don't appreciate it. And it's just like this long bit, but I'm like, this is well written and well acted. Like how he gives his speech, that's fucking prize winning material there. That should get like not a Razzie, but something good, something happy. Yeah. But so Chris sees this girl across the parking lot and thinks she's hot, and JC's like, all right, fine, I'll go find out information for you. So they follow this party at the Beta's house. The Beta's, which is always basically like, they have a sign that says Betas do it better. It's just say you're in second place. Say you missed your fucking opportunity to be an alpha, and now you're beta, and this is your second choice frat. Dicks.
Really like that. I think Brad was my favorite part.
Brad was great. Brad, the first time you see Brad, he has no skin pigment at all. He's just, I thought it was a vampire movie for a second, because later on when they show him as a zombie, he looks like he's got more tone than,
more sun after
death.
he died. After death.
At night.
I kept thinking after birth.
Yep. And that whole room of dudes, like I asked Aaron, I said, do you think they just went to like the local gay bar and grabbed every early 20s looking dude and said, follow us for much fast rides, and like, because that whole room of extras, like they were just so spot on douchey frat boys. It was wonderful, but ain't none of them straight. And you can tell because when Brad takes Jill home later, he drops her off. He's like, I'm sorry, it's an early night. I got to go back and hang out with the guys, ride their dicks.
Suck themselves and just tell
right. So all that aside, the Chris and JC decide to get a girl like Jill. They have to try to join the frat. Now JC doesn't decide this. JC's like, just fucking talk to her. Just fucking talk to her. Chris doesn't do that. Chris is like, no, we got to be in a frat. She likes frat guys, obviously, because she is, we find out, dating the lead frat guy in this. It, again, very typical 80s. Frat guys are terrible, unless you're Delta or a Trilam. But in this regard, yeah, frat guys are terrible. Nerds rule. That's where we were starting. We were starting to get like the nerds are actually the cool dudes. Man, that's because nerds the guys who write film scripts. Jocks go and hit each other with balls. Am I wrong?
Nerds pussy too, Corey.
What?
Nerds need pussy too.
Yes, need. It's a need. It's not a given. We had to work for it in my day. I didn't work for it. I didn't really. I waited a long time. I waited a long time. No, there was a couple times when I just said no. Nancy Reagan got to me.
Then you get married and realize when you say no, it's a death curse.
It kind of is. So they get challenged by the, like the sorority thing that happened in Slimeball Bolorama. They get told, okay, to do this, you have to go do this thing for us. And in this case, it's like, go find a dead body, put it on the steps of one of the other competing fraternities, and then we'll let you in. And they have no intention of letting him in because they're dicks. But yeah, they let him go. And it's like, okay, go find a dead body in the middle of the night at a college. Shouldn't be that easy. Apparently kind of was. They knew which building to go to. And they go in.
That's the thing. Like, why go to a lab instead of just the fucking morgue? But, you know.
I guess it depends on where you think you can get one and get it out. Morgue's full of cops. Although, when we see the dead body walking out of the morgue later on, the cops just don't even look up. Like, yeah, call me later. There is the line that is said by Thrill Me Dude, which is, dead bodies don't just get up and walk away themselves. Same line was used in Monster Squad.
Yes, it was.
Slightly different context, but yeah. So they go and they find this room that is a cryogenics lab. And so there's a body that's in this tube that they've been holding. I don't understand why that would be cryogenically sealed. Like, they found it intact. Like, that's a part we don't get in the flashback to the 50s. Is that it's the boyfriend of the girl who gets axe murdered, who is the ex-girlfriend of the cop. But somehow that guy gets captured and put in cryogenics. They don't explain why he was chosen for this, but maybe because he died and they couldn't find a cause immediately, and they're just like, we're just going to freeze him. Just freezer pop that shit. Or maybe they know.
There was a very real assumption that there was going to be a second one with how this movie ended. So I'm guessing that they probably assumed that there would be a second one because that's all they did in the 80s were make, 8 movies based off of one. And they're like, we'll just deal with this later.
In 86, I think that was still kind of a new thing. Like, we would get sequels. We were getting sequels to Halloween. And we were getting sequels to Friday the 13th. But Nightmare on Elm Street was still kind of new. And it getting the sequels that it did, by 86, it must have been at like Freddy 2. I don't even know if we got into Dream Warriors yet. So I don't know how likely it is that they expected a sequel from the script. But it's also explanation that could have been put in there that didn't make it, and not necessary. Like it doesn't kill the enjoyment, but it is that like with all the things they do go through trying to explain to you why there's a cryogenics lab at the college and why is this guy in the cryogenics lab and how they gone the 30 years or so since he was found to not do anything with them, to not find the creatures that are there.
Yeah.
They just keep him frozen and keep watching him and have a whole bunch of machines around that just have flashing lights. Terrible computers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could sit and be nitpicky all day, but it was the 80s.
It was the 80s. That is exactly what I said to my wife. It was a different time because when the officer comes in and puts out a cigarette on the floor in the crime scene, she's like, just dropped a cigarette in the crime scene and stomped it out. I'm like, we didn't have DNA at this point.
Well,
It was
in
a
the
different
50s,
time.
holding the girl's disembodied
Hand,
arm.
yeah.
Yeah, or the hand. You only see the hand. I assumed it was the entire arm, but
Which probably
yeah.
smelled like her boyfriend at that point. As we already established.
But
So so they go, they release the body, it and in trying to drag it out, like I'm impressed with how far they were willing to go with this. And trying to drag it out, the body like opens its eyes and grabs a hold of JC's arms. They freak out and they run away, quote unquote, screaming like banshees, which is a very fun line in this. And then the body walks across campus, goes to the same room where he had met up with his girlfriend earlier in the movie, which is where now the new girl stays, and like sees her, and then he falls over, completely spent. The creeps pop out his brain and go crawling around the campus.
mm-hmm.
We good so far?
Yeah,
all right.
I watched it. We watched the movie. There's
so
a
at this
first time
point,
for everything.
There's a first time. So what do you think so far?
I mean, I didn't hate it. Like I
No,
said,
no,
I didn't
no,
hate
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
I didn't expect much, other than the small plot point where it goes from the 50s to the 80s. That's all I knew about it. I knew nothing into it. I also didn't expect a whole lot.
What do you think about the creeps? Yeah.
Like I wasn't blown away. I'm like, oh, this is fucking so cool.
For 86 though, for the way those things move around, I thought it was pretty well done.
I thought they were kind of cool, and like the idea that they jump into your mouth and whatever was different.
Have you seen Slither?
I feel like I have, but
James Gunn's movie. It has Nathan Fillion and Elizabeth Banks and a lot of good people. And also somebody from Payback. Now that I think about it, but very similar into these kind of creatures. Yeah, going around getting in people's mouths, possesses them. Keeps breeding. Takes it to a different level, and obviously effects and stuff are better.
2006 level, everything has to be a little more visual.
20 years later kind of thing. It gives you a lot. And James Gunn's scripting is really good. Although so is this. It's funny to me because Night of the Creeps had done it 20 years before. And when I watch the two of them, I know there's some differences in where the technology is, but Night of the Creeps holds up as being pretty good in what it does. When JC's in the bathroom and he's hiding from them and they're moving across the floors, yes, I know that they're on wires, but you don't see the wires until like one scene later on when they're shooting out of the axe murderer's mouth.
Right. Still, though, I mean, I didn't even notice that they were on wires. I didn't think about the fact of how that they were doing this. So I guess to the movie's credit is like I didn't even think twice about how in the 80s they were making these worms come out of someone's mouth.
Yeah. So I guess that brings us to the point of JC, unfortunately, separating himself from Chris so he can get to know the girl. And he's in the bathroom and The janitor, seen them earlier, had come in and died, and the creeps popped out of his head. JC realizes something's wrong, uses some matches, which I assume he was going to use to kill whatever he did in the bathroom. Uses some matches and kills one of them, so realizes the heat affects them. But the most important part of the scene is the fact that behind him on the wall, it says Striper rules. And that's why this movie is important.
I saw that and I thought of you.
Striper does rule.
Yes.
That was written by Kyle Sweet. I don't think she had married Michael yet, but that was Michael Sweet, the lead singer of Striper's eventual wife. She wrote that on there. And then I guess there's also some reference to the Monster Squad written on one of the walls too, like Call the Monster Squad, which came out a year later. So that's why I felt like we had to do this movie. That's the only reason. We can stop talking about it now.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
So what JC does is he tapes himself and he leaves the tape for Chris talking about what the creatures are, what he's kind of discovered, and the fact that he kills them. And then he walks without the use of his crutches to, I guess, like the boiler room or something like that to kill them. And you see that they've all kind of melted outside of his head as they broke free. I thought that was neat. It is different because we don't see anybody else really. We see them walk around, but we don't see anybody else like talking and communicating when they've been infected. He's the only one who has that moment of like continuing to like be sort of normal while this is happening. Yeah. And I don't know how fast and everything he moved to do this, but he can walk faster now, so that's important. But that leads to the Chris and the cop like getting together to go and fight the rest of them. The cop, who has been in this entire time trying to kill himself, he's got the door taped up and he's got the gas running in the stove to commit suicide because he's still miserable because he had killed the axe murderer 20 years or 30 years ago, but didn't tell anybody, and he hid the body underneath where the lady who watches over the sorority house lives. We get a good scene of that where he pops up through the floor and axes her. There's a lot of room for movement for being wrapped up in plastic and coming out with your axe and to just jump through the floor of that. But whatever. And then we get the beautiful moment of the film where all the dudes are getting ready for their dates and all the girls, like we said, have the shower scene as they're getting ready for their formal dance. And then the guys are on the bus and the bus crashes because it sees a dog in the middle of the road. Terrible driver, terrible bus driver. He deserved to die. But they all get infected by the creeps and they come walking up to the house and the cops at the house. He's like, well, the good news is your dates are here. Bad news is they're dead. What a fucking line. What a fucking line. Masterpiece.
Master P, yeah.
Yeah, Master P.
I did lose it laughing when later the cop when he goes, good news, girls, your dates are here. Bad news, they're dead. Like, not verbatim.
That is exactly what I just said.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, fuck you, Corey. That was probably like easily one of my favorite parts. There's 8 lines like that in the movie that I did really enjoy.
His character, I mean, JC and him really make the movie for me because they just get fantastic lines through the whole thing, and him constantly saying "thrill me." He says "thrill me" like 5 times in this.
I didn't even notice that until you started saying it.
It's such a signature in this.
Yeah, I guess now, and I kind of want to go back and rewatch it now because I didn't even notice him saying it.
Every time he picks up the phone and he walks in and he's like, "Thrill me," and he picks up the phone and he's like, "Hey, is this Detective Cameron?" And he's like, "No, it's Mickey Mouse." And then later on, when he walks into the cryogenics crime scene, it's like, "Detective?" He's like, "No, Bullwinkle Moose." He's just like, he's so sarcastic and it's so dumb, but it's perfect. His delivery is so excellent in this, and I just want to see that character continue. And it again, they took out the two funniest characters in this, which I guess is probably another 80s trope, is you always kill the funny ones. Um, into Janessa and Jason X, which is terrible. But it it added flavor to a movie that probably could have been very flat without the good writing, without the dialogue. For me, and I don't know if that's why you didn't hate it, or
Did you want me to hate it?
no. No, I'm just always impressed when you like something.
It was an enjoyable movie. I mean, I wasn't expecting a whole lot, and it seemed like it didn't try too hard, which I think is why I liked it. Like they kind of knew what it was, and they stayed in their lane, and
Yep,
it was what it was.
good effects. They had with
I,
the the zombified cat, the zombified dog. Overall, yeah, I think it does effectively the Walking Dead kind of thing, but
yeah,
with a new excuse as to why, and with added flavor of the fact that those creeps can just jump into anyone. You know, it's not a matter of like you die and you become a zombie. It's these things kill you, breed in you, make more
yeah,
stuff, and you become a zombie.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's a good scene where Chris is screaming at Cynthia, where he's got the shotgun. And he's trying to tell her how to use the flamethrower to. He's going to shoot the guys in the face, and then she's got to use the flamethrower to. And she just seems catatonic. She just seemed like she's not reacting at all. And he's like, Jesus Christ, you just got to make a sign that you understand what I'm talking about. He's like, okay, and he goes and he shoots him, and then she just like takes off with it. I like the fact that, again, as the female lead in this, who's been very sweet and not had a lot of character moments so far, is like she takes charge. She does well. Um, they give her agency. I enjoy that in a film. I know horror movies are better at doing that with female leads than other films, but especially when she's still like the object of affection. She's what he's like kind of hoping for. They can still underserve female characters in that, and they don't do that on this one. Although all of the sorority sisters just do nothing. They walk outside. He's like, well, don't fucking walk outside. They're all dead. They're like, well, we got to go out there. You know, he brought me a corsage.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing that so when the when he gets the flamethrower out of the cop shop, I don't remember if they said what it was called or whatever, but when the guy who makes a comment about how like if the pilot light goes out, it's a bitch to get back on.
Right.
So later when they're using it and it goes out, I expected to like I fully was waiting for the moment in which the pilot light on this flamethrower would go out.
Yep.
Because that like that's gonna be a moment where the creeps are gonna get super close. I didn't expect it just to go out and then they're just like fuck it, we're done here.
Right.
Like she gets tackled with it, and then he gets tackled, yada yada yada. Maybe that was on purpose. Maybe they just I don't understand why that was even in there if it wasn't foreshadowing of some sort. But yeah.
But it's awesome that it was is that Dick Miller play the guy who's from Gremlins and like done everything. He's been in tons of shit, but I think he was in the original Little Shop of Horrors and some other stuff. But like he was a guy who in Gremlins 2, like he and his wife showed up after being attacked in the first one. They come up to the building and he's like, oh shit, this stuff again, because he's still freaking out about the Gremlins. Just it was fun that it was him. It was nice to see him again get a cameo in something, which he gets cameos all the time, or used to. I think he passed away. But
Dick Miller died this year, January 30th, 2019.
Yeah. So always nice to see the classic come back.
Yeah. So I mean, we already described the end of the movie, so do we need to do it again?
Yeah, no. But just overall, like I have said, to me, this movie is a masterpiece. As far as horror movies go, it hits all the notes well, and it does some things that I think are inventive and different to kind of like make it not just one type of movie, but give you flavors of other stuff, but takes you on a journey the whole way through where it all kind of pays off and makes sense at the end. Like I had said earlier, I don't know that I like the director's cut ending as much as the original ending. The original ending was very, to the point, did what it needed to. It stopped, but it leaves it open. This leaves it open, but it does it in a more roundabout way and doesn't do well to explain, like, well, here's just the giant ship flying over looking for the creeps, but not giving you any more of the story of that. I don't think it brought anything more to it. I think the thing with the dog worked because it was more personal to the two main characters who survived.
Yeah, I guess I would kind of. Man, I don't know if I wish I would have seen the original ending first or not.
Yeah, I don't know that it loses too much, but it doesn't add anything. And for me, because I'm used to the other one, it just works better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't. I don't know if I would have been happy with the other ending either. Either way, it is what
it just ends.
The beginning and the end of the movie were dumb, but everything else in the middle was pretty good.
Yeah, and I like the dumb of the beginning of the movie because that still feels really 80s, really like what sci-fi tried to do with horror. And is that when did Aliens come out? Because it seems like it's trying to play off of Aliens.
86.
So the same year. This was August of that year. But it probably didn't have that to draw on. So whatever. I think it did a good job of introducing that element without dwelling on it. Whereas Critters had introduced that element and it was a factor throughout the whole movie. Like you had the two bounty hunters come down to Earth to find the Krites and kill the Krites. They were a B plot to that whole thing. It's about the family on the farm, but it became more about them as the movies went on anyways. Yeah. So you said you liked it.
Oh yeah. I thought you could hear my dogs barking.
I can hear your dogs.
Yeah, my wife's home. God, see, I kind of want to watch it again. So I'm like teetering on, like a short-term marriage.
Yeah.
Like we call it a celebrity marriage because it'll last like maybe a year or two.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. How about you? I mean, I already know your answer.
Yeah, I'm totally devoted to this. Which obviously I'm quoting Olivia Newton-John. Shut up.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No, I love when it comes to. I don't know if this is what part of developed the kind of horror movies that I'm into. It certainly goes in there with a Night of the Comet, which is around the same time. Yeah. We'll get to that one. But the horror comedy creepiness factor, more than just a simple slasher film. This is my bag. This is totally my bag. This and the penis extender. Totally my bag, baby.
Oh shit! All right. What do we do now?
We talk about where people can find you on the web. Oh, we also probably should have a movie for next week.
Oh yeah, what do you want to do next week? Oh wait. Someone told me something to watch. Please hold. I have to find it.
Remember we used to make an effort and do this stuff before the show.
Better this way.
That sounds like a New Year's resolution.
God damn it! Where was it? It was probably on fucking Facebook. Dildo.
I will say I watched a horror movie. I watched a couple on Friday night with that group from the Slasher app. Oh, I'm on the Slasher app. That's where you can find me, Captain Temerity on the Slasher app. We watched Double Dragon, which is not a horror movie, but a horrific film. We watched the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then our add-on for the night of like we're all still awake and not drunk enough to go to sleep yet. We watched New Year's Evil from 1980. That does not get a recommendation. I'd never seen that. I'd never seen Double Dragon, but but New Year's Evil had Pinky Tuscadero from Happy Days in it, and it was god awful. It was just a bloody mess. But there is a time where the guy shows up with a mask that looks like the Mac Tonight. So I really have to wonder if Mac Tonight was based off of the mask that was in this movie, because it looks so spot on, except it wasn't quite as pointed. Also, Mac Tonight looks like the guy from Cabal or Nightbreed. Anyway, did you find the movie?
Yeah, it's a movie called Ready or Not. I'm just trying to ask him which version.
Oh, Ready or Not is the one that came out this year.
That's where I think. I'm just making sure because there's one from 2009, 2012, 2018. Two of them in 2018.
Wow. The one that came out, I think this year, was the one with the girl from the Babysitter that we watched on Netflix.
Yep.
And I know she was in some other stuff too. Oh, she was in that one with Glenn from The Walking Dead where they had that drug that was pumped in the building. They're all killing everybody on their way out. But that looks pretty good. I'd be okay with that if that's what he's talking about. Who's recommending this?
It's my buddy JR.
Right on.
He's been up. Same. Oh, it is the one from 2019. Same guy who quit her. It's a comedy horror mystery.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of mysteries, we watched Knives Out last night.
Yeah, how was that?
That's actually pretty good. I wouldn't say that it's entertaining as a mystery per se, in the sense that it seems kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But it's really enjoyable. Like, the performances are great in it, and it's well written. It's fun. Everybody was really good. I'm glad I saw it finally.
Yeah, I've heard a couple people that said they wanted to see it, so now I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I should probably. I guess there's dog puke and pee everywhere in my house. I should go clean that up.
What fun for you!
Just a party when we started this, so.
Probably shouldn't have fed them that green grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh boy.
Matt, where can people find you? What do you got going on?
Twitter, Instagram. Nope, not
Untapped.
Twitter. Untapped. Matt the Lifeguard. I'm on Slasher. I think it's Infant Stomper.
That's good to know.
That's about it. Yeah, I signed up for it.
I love how you don't add me.
I don't know how to do anything in there. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Slasher is still kind of in its infancy. It's definitely not reached adolescence yet. But
I've noticed there's a dating tab though.
Yeah, I noticed that too. But some of the tabs, at least I like the fact that you can categorize stuff and you can go and drill down if you want to find stuff about artists, if you want to find stuff about podcasters, if you want to just look up stuff about movies, and if there's movies that aren't there, you can ask to have them added.
Yeah.
And the people, the person who's in charge of making it and doing everything has just started a Patreon for it, and I definitely think it's worth supporting. I think there's a good community there. The rules are basically just don't be a dick, don't be a creep, and we'll be fine. Everything else kind of it's up to you, to be cool, but the rest of it goes, just like, sure, we don't give a shit about language or nudity and stuff like that, but just don't be somebody that we have to reprimand, and you kind of know what that is, So I like that. I like that, and as an adult who's sort of lost their place in social media, because most of this stuff is not made for people of my age group. This has got both something that feels inviting to someone like me and has the interest of someone like me, which is horror movies and books and podcasts and things like that. There's good people on there.
Huh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
Ready or Not next week.
Yes.
And I married this film, and you're interested in it, in a relationship.
I'd consider doing stuff to its butt.
Yeah. Speaking of butts,
for another episode of the
grilled cheese.
We'll talk to you guys next week.
Stay scary, everybody.